1 year after the deadly riots in Charlottesville, the second Unite the Right rally took place in Washington, D.C. over the weekend. Only this time, there were less than 24 white nationalists gathering just steps away from the White House, far fewer than the 400 organizers planned for. While white supremacists and the alt-right gathered in D.C., hundreds marched in Charlottesville, and dozens of students, clergy members, and anti-fascists gathered to pay their respects to Heather Heyer, the woman who lost her life during last year's riots. Back with me to discuss, Jason Donson, who was in Charlottesville on Sunday, and Bret Stephens. All right, Jason, to you first. You were in Charlottesville, and some people are saying, well, fewer people came. This is good news.
Right.
But is it good news after the white nationalists who participated last year got destroyed? They lost their jobs.
Yeah.
They got kicked out of their apartment buildings. Should we take it as a positive sign that a lot less showed up? Or they're existing, they're just remaining in the shadows?
Yeah, they're existing, they're remaining in the shadows. I was in Charlottesville on Saturday for the memorial, and then I was actually at the march on Sunday in Washington, D.C. And so what happened is, you know, a lot of the guys who went last year, yeah, they lost their jobs, but what they also recognize is that they didn't have to face the consequences that they thought they were going to face last year. I mean, think about it. A lot of those guys who got caught, they weren't caught by the local police department. They were caught by activists. So they're like, you know what? We can still be white nationalists at home. We can still be weekend white nationalists. We can be Forever 21 Nazis and do whatever we want in Michigan and in Illinois and California where we want to be. We don't have to march anymore. And so I found it nice that only 12 people showed up, but these guys still feel empowered. They feel more empowered today than they did a year ago, and that's what's dangerous.
Oh, but still, clearly, I mean, look, if 400 had showed up, if 800 had showed up, we would be having a very different conversation. I think a much more anxious conversation. It does mean that at least some healthy antibodies in this society are working. They don't feel they're not fearless. They understand that there are consequences for their beliefs, social ostracism, losing their jobs. You're not going to be able to eradicate what's in the human heart, but at least you can start to condition their behavior in a way that is less aggressively obnoxious. Because if this movement had continued to visibly rise, our problems would be that much greater.
It's a good point. I want to share what the president tweeted about the rally, saying the riots in Charlottesville a year ago resulted in senseless death and division. We must come together as a nation. I condemn all types of racism and acts of violence. Peace to all Americans. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that's just what white nationalists want to hear. All types of racism. No, we're talking about white supremacy and white nationalist racism. And when the president says all types of racism, he does that sort of equivalency dance that Jason Kessler and white nationalists want to talk about. They want to stand there and say, well, yes, you know, black people oppress white people just as much and Hispanics oppress us. No, that's not what we're talking about. And so the president has revealed himself to be a bigot. That's not new. That's not surprising. And we have to recognize that the people who are involved in this movement, they're not all townies. They're not all working at Walmart and Target. Jason Kessler went to UVA. A lot of these people are highly educated. That's why they had the khaki pants. So
Stephen Miller went to Duke.
There we go. Stephen Miller went to Duke. So, and I like the fact that UVA's president mentioned, like, yeah, 2 of the organizers graduated from this university. So we have to recognize they're not just dummies. These are sophisticated, organized people who are in this for the long haul. They think the president is on their side, and we have to recognize the danger that they pose as terrorists, not just as mean people.
Well, I never thought of Duke as a great university, but I will agree with you on
Many call it the Princeton of the South.
Well, I'll agree with you on one point. You know, one way in which you often spot anti-Semitism is when people say, well, the Holocaust was a tragedy that involved lots of people, right? That somehow the Jewish aspect of it wasn't central to, to its nature. And that's exactly what Trump was doing in his tweet. But more than that, he's offering the nation a tweet on the subject, 280 characters. This should be an occasion for a president to go and speak at the Lincoln Memorial, to go and speak somewhere else and deliver a speech, which I don't think Donald Trump in a million years would be capable of delivering,
Brett,
but deliver a speech
the
that says something different.
California fires, you would say this would be an occasion for the president to go there. Instead, he's going to rallies.
Right, but let's just point out that the most damning fact about what Donald Trump has done on the year's anniversary is offer the nation that pathetic tweet.
Before we go, the weekend was not without conflict or acts of violence. There were some journalists who were attacked by street protesters. Those protesters were also going after the police. They didn't want to be on camera. They're believed to be part of Antifa. What's your take on this?
You know, I didn't see it. I know one thing when I was in Charlottesville.
Okay, well, there it is. We're seeing it.
Yeah. There were a lot of different activists who were like, why are you in riot gear? We don't see no riot here. There is a belief, I'm not saying it's always correct, but there is a belief by many activists, including Antifa, that the police tacitly support this kind of violence.
Where does that belief come? I mean,
well, because
come on. Do you think the police there were there to protect white nationalists? Do you believe that?
When you look at how the police respond to white nationalists as opposed to Black Lives Matter protesters, yes, you do. When you consider the number of police departments where people have been caught with white nationalist tattoos and the emails and everything else like that, that's there. Look, I never liked the idea of journalists getting attacked, but no one has a reason to believe, even when you look at how the police responded last year, when you look at the fact that they shut down the metro in D.C. to let these guys go in, people have reasons to doubt the police's dedication to eradicating racism.
But thuggishness is thuggishness wherever it comes from politically, and we should be the first to call it out.
I disagree.
This is time for us to rise together. We're going to be right back.
To stay successful in business,